Thank you. So first on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. However, before we do that, I do have a couple of changes or possible addition and a change. After the agenda was completed, we heard from Nanette, our board member, who would like to do about a 5-minute presentation on Pet Health and Safety Network. Is that correct, Nanette? So can we add that to the agenda?
So that'll be 9.
As an amendment?
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
Chairwoman. I have a question regarding A, major use permit for commercial cannabis cultivation. What?
Okay, we're not there yet. We're on approval of the agenda.
Oh, well, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but right now I'm talking, okay, great, but let's get a comment on or vote to include or exclude the pet health presentation.
So moved.
5 minutes by Nanette.
To approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll add that to the agenda. Let's see, we'll,
Minutes, right?
no, not the
Oh,
minutes, the
approval of
agenda.
the agenda, okay.
So we'll put you down just before item number 6, Nanette.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, and the second item is the project that Fletcher Thornton is referring to, the major use permit. So this here was put on the agenda basically because this is an item that came up here recently where we were unable to meet the deadline for the Planning Commission meeting that was held this morning, May 9th. However, the Planning Commission meeting was canceled. So now we can, initially this was put on the agenda basically to do 2 things. One, to inform the public that this project was going on here in the Middletown area, and as if you recall, encouraged everybody to respond on their own if they so chose to. That math would not be responding. And number 2, then just to report out of whatever happened at the Planning Commission meeting. But since that didn't happen, and it is on the agenda, we do have a couple of people here in the room, Mr. Comstock and family, who would like to say a few words about the project. In doing so, if we say a few words about the project, because there are a couple of people that are involved, I've also heard from some others, I guess there's a for and against, or maybe not even a for and against, but just different perspectives, different viewpoints. So if this body is going to, of course, entertain one viewpoint, we need to entertain all viewpoints. Yes.
I really have a problem even talking about this since it has not gone before the Planning Commission. You know, I don't know where it's at, what kind of conditions there are, what's been approved, what's not been approved. Do they have water? Do they not have water? There's a lot of questions that should be given to this body before we start talking about something we don't know anything about. That's my opinion.
They're here for.
That's what we're here for. Yes, Mr. Hess?
Procedural wrinkle, because we did not meet today, we adjourned. This is John Hess, Planning Commissioner, District 1.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a mic. I'm sorry, because we need an audience mic. Lisa, could you monitor the mic here?
And it's pretty hot tonight, so.
Since we adjourned before meeting at all today, there was no disposition of this matter, meaning that we learned that had we met, the request from staff and council would have been to continue this item to another date, certain or uncertain. But we don't know when it might be continued to because we didn't meet and we didn't have that procedural activity. So it's an open question now, and as such, I'm just here all ears today. I can't make a comment either way in terms of something that hasn't been before the commission yet. Thanks.
Right, thank you.
It says, see attached PDF. What are we talking? Oh, thank you, ma'am. It says major use
Fletcher
permit
Thornton.
hearing schedule, see attached PDF. Is there a notice or some information on a file, PDF file?
Yes, there is.
We don't have it here.
Right.
You did. You had it in your email.
Oh, no, I don't. I don't get an email.
Okay.
Never have gotten an email.
Okay,
Pigeon next time.
I'll make a motion to table this until we get more information. So I move to table.
okay, we have a motion to table this and a second. How does the rest of the body feel about this?
No discussion on motion to table. No discussion on motion to table, Madam Chairman.
I don't know that that's true. So we usually take, yeah, you receive, and then you, there's a moment to discuss. You are the only person who has had an opportunity to speak on this issue at this point in time.
I didn't speak on the issue, I spoke on the agenda item.
Correct.
This was
So-
one of the reasons why I came in here is to talk about this right here, which I got the notice in the post office. So it's here, it's in the post office, we should talk about it.
Okay. Okay, well, what we can do is put it to a vote. So we have a motion and a second to table this. All in favor to table it? Your hand is not up? No, it's not. Okay. Opposed to tabling? Okay, there's many more hands in the room to oppose table. So, then it remains on the agenda, and at this point in time, the question is at whether or not we have the Comstock family who is here today and involved in this project, whether we have them give a presentation, in which case then I would also advise our group to ask others involved in the project if they also would like to come and share their perspective at another date. As planning commissioner, or tonight, but as planning commissioner John Hess has just mentioned, this item, there is an unknown date. It's continued to an unknown date certain at this point in time? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So there may be time, there may be a month or two to continue to discuss this further. And yes, and for everybody to get the documents and take a look at the staff report and all of the documents that go with it. So, so I guess my question, Kate, you have
My
microphone? Oh.
Hello, my name is Kate Schmidt-Hopper. My feeling is that since this is an open body, that the people who wanted to discuss their point of view on this should have the 2 minutes that you get for public comment. And that's their 2 minutes. It's not a presentation, it's a 2-minute comment. And then people who feel like they have something to say about this particular item, which will be continued for another date, can have the opportunity to say that. That's
Okay,
what I would suggest.
thank you, and that is an option. Any other comments? Okay, I need somebody to stay with the mic for a moment. Any other comments or questions?
I just had a question about Pete and Kenny.
Wait, here.
Is he pro or con, and was he advised of this meeting?
He is aware of this meeting, so he was unable to make it tonight.
Okay.
I believe he was at the planning commission meeting this morning. Any other comments? So at this point in time, if I don't hear another motion, then we'll leave it on the agenda as is. As Kate has suggested, our usual protocol here is 2 to 3 minutes, discussing or partaking in discussion about an item that is on the agenda. Is that correct? Consensus?
And it will be an action item?
It is not an action item.
Not an action item, okay.
It will remain as listed, so to speak. No, it's on, then we're just proceeding as usual. Okay. So with that, those two items discussed, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, Fletcher first, Bill second. All in favor? Any opposed? See no hands. Okay. So moving on, we have the approval of the meeting minutes. We have the approval for both March and April as we tabled the meetings last time, or the minutes last time.
Is that amended minutes? Do we have discussing that needed to be added to that or not?
No, these are minutes
minutes.
from April
Oh,
and March.
the old minutes.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve or to comment on the minutes for April or March. And those should have been emailed in your packet as well. So I have, Bill has moved to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. All in favor? Aye. So moved. Oh, any opposed? Sorry. Okay, moving on. One thing in correspondence I wanted to discuss briefly is, and I will set this in the back of the room and then turn it over to Ken, but I do have a little card here and just a little gift for Susie Noel, who has been with us operating this room for several years now, opening and closing the doors for us and responding to all of our calls for emergency throughout all of our meetings. She is retiring, and she has put in her notice with the county that she will be leaving this position. So I know they're looking to hire somebody else. And anyway, so I have a little card here and just a little gift. I'm going to set this in the back, and if anybody would like to sign it, please do so. And then I'll turn correspondence over to Ken.
We get a lot of correspondence from the county, and but it's on their website, County of Lake. So if you really want to get into that, you could do that on your own. But I did get a letter from an upcoming tree removal work at the former GI landfill site. Beginning on May 13th, PG&E will begin removing 32 acres of eucalyptus trees at its former geothermal landfill site on Butts Canyon. And the work is planned to occur through September 2024. So the trees were originally planted as part of a landfill closure activities, but have not been as effective as planned. Tree removal has been approved by the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, and PG&E continues to work with the Water Board to implement measures to effectively manage ground and surface water at that site. So it's just a little notification. Now you know.
So that was the notification on the tree removal?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Why are they doing that?
The tree, well,
I mean,
PG&E
I
was
know-
here
I-
explaining it.
I know they brought it up and discussed it, but it looks like, it sounded to me like they were doing it just because, rather than having a real purpose in doing it. Is it easier to maintain the property out there? Does anybody know why specifically they're referring to?
something about water absorption that it was supposed
It wasn't absorbing the water
Yeah.
that they thought was going to, but is that any purpose or reason to cut down the trees? That was my question.
It's here in the flyer.
Was it for fire safety?
Well, that was
Oh,
No, but
replacing
not
the
as many.
Okay,
that was my suggestion.
thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on this. I did some additional research after we heard the presentation, and eucalyptus trees are not invasive. They are not native, admittedly. They are not invasive. They're actually quite beautiful. They are also not particularly a fire risk. We had a eucalyptus tree in our rear yard. The valley fire came to our rear gate, and that tree didn't have one single burned leaf on it. So, and also there are no other buildings in the area that could be threatened by a fire. So cutting these incredibly beautiful, valuable habitat trees down for no good reason, given that there is no nearby structures to be threatened, I think is odious. And I do not think they should be allowed to get away with it. And I think this board and body should make a specific motion to ask them not to cut these trees down. Thank you.
So noted.
Okay. Microphone's behind you.
Part of the reason for planting trees was to absorb the water from the contaminated soil, okay? The problem is that the water table is down to 10 to 16 feet. Eucalyptus trees are very shallow rooted trees. The roots are never more than a foot below the ground. So it's really ineffective. I'm like everybody else, I love trees, but they're not going to do the job just because they're such a shallow rooted tree and trying to absorb water that's 15 feet below the ground.
She clarified that. That was great. Thank you.
Were they going to plant something else in its stead? Because I think the thing was that they were going to remove more trees than they were going to plant. I think I made the suggestion to them, could they put in native trees? And she said, we'll look into it.
Yeah, I didn't get that there was like a plan to replace them
There
with
really
other
wasn't.
trees.
Let me have that back. Okay, so anyway, this project is moving forward. The trees were a part of the landfill closure activities that have not been as effective as planned per the notice. The tree removal has been approved by the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board, and PG&E continues to work with the Water Board to implement measures to effectively manage the ground and surface area at the site. So the work is planned to begin on Monday, May 13th through September 2024, and will occur Monday through Friday from 7 to 5 p.m. It is not an action item on the agenda, so no, this body is not able to do anything this evening. Okay, so another piece of correspondence that I received, and I'm not sure if it went into the math mailbox, but there is another project also that an RFR is requested with a deadline of 5/23. This is a project, it's basically a 600 square foot commercial real estate office with little over 2,000 square foot attached single-family residence. And the building will be constructed in an area that was affected by the Valley Fire, resulting in destruction of the previous existing structure. It is located on or at 20763 St. Helena Lane. I believe that was the old White residence that also served as a restaurant for a period of time. So at the north end here of Middletown.
When it was called the Bohemian, is that the one?
Yes, exactly.
How many houses?
So it's one. It's a commercial estate, real estate office and single-family residence kind of combined in one building. So it does, I believe that area is zoned, yes, it is zoned commercial, local commercial. So personally, I don't see an issue with this, but if anybody would like to review it and request this body to do something.
Make a comment.
No, thanks. I'm just curious about this RFR process, because if we did want to do anything about it, we couldn't. Like, we wouldn't meet again. We couldn't, like, it's not an action item.
Correct.
It's just letting us know.
Exactly.
So if there were any interest in it, it would either be the county had sent it too late, or we're too late in acting on it, which doesn't seem like the point.
I agree with Rosemary.
Mhm.
I actually think that it would be a good idea to have a policy that the board, the chair or the secretary can look at things as they come in, and actually there should be a thing for like maybe whatever it's called, RFR requests or possible action items that we have a right, so to speak, to turn into action items as needed.
Mhm.
So, yeah. To, like, for example, if we had to respond to this and we needed a response and it's not on the agenda, so we can't vote on it technically, right?
Correct.
So to make it be so that it would be possible for us to vote on it if needed, you know? So, and that's come up, we've done things different ways over the years, actually.
And I could have brought this up to add it to the agenda.
Yeah, but it's,
So-
it's not a discussion item
I
right
would-
now, that point.
Right.
I guess I don't understand. If there's not time for a meeting, then what will two people from the board do?
Well,
Call a special meeting?
in the process, for the RFR review, basically, I mean, it could just be like this body, we could have a discussion at some point, we put it on the agenda and have a discussion for a blanket response, so to speak, from the math board on various different projects, only for the purpose of like staying in the loop. So because this is only the beginning of the process, the RFR request is for agency review. So as you stated earlier, Mr. Fletcher Thornton, sorry. As you stated earlier, we don't have all the information. So at this point in time with the RFR, it's going to go out to all the agencies. The agencies are going to respond, and that might be a better time for us actually to engage.
Yeah, we should be part of the organizations that are. We should be part of the organizations that are requested. I know the tribe gets.
We are.
60 days or 90 days to respond to
That's-
any request.
That's
And
tribal.
nothing can go forward till they do respond. So, I guess I'm asking, why do we have to be, that would be premature for us to even get involved until there's an official request from the county for the organizations to respond, at which time we could.
That would be right now as far as for this RFR. The assessor's office, the air quality, building division, environmental health, and others that are listed on, that are checked off on here have all been requested to respond, given the same deadline as we are.
Oh, so they're late getting it to us.
No, we all got this at the same time. It's just that these people here work in their office every day of the week. We meet once a month. So it's a little bit more difficult for us to respond as a body, and that's where Lisa is suggesting that perhaps this board be given the liberty, so to speak, to have a response, a blanket response of some sort, and or to add this, just automatically add it to the agenda at the last minute as an action item.
Well, I want to speak to one thing, and that is the board making a recommendation. I'm absolutely opposed, and it's against our bylaws, for the board to act without permission from this body. You cannot do that.
That's not what I'm saying. We could respond as simple as saying that the Middletown Area Town Hall Group would like to stay in contact with, or stay informed about the progress of this project. It could be something as simple as that.
I think what I was trying to say anyway wasn't that the board should make a decision.
Respond, correct.
It was that the board should make it so that it can be an agenda item.
Right.
So that there's a place on the agenda for items that come up at the last minute, like that.
And I think that that's what we're talking about. What she's talking about is not to make a recommendation to the county. But when the notice comes in like this at such a late notice, and it seems like every time we get a notice, the notice comes in late. So what the bylaws, et cetera, would have to be amended to do anything like that. But let me finish. And as a result of that, maybe we could vote to amend the bylaws such that the board could make a director decision to add it to the agenda without having to wait before bringing it into the formal meeting to do this. So that's the only thing we would be able to do, but the bylaws and everything would have to be amended to accommodate this. If it's legal at all.
Not so. The chairman always has the ability to call to put an emergency item on the agenda, just like she did with the dog thing.
Right.
Same thing.
Yep.
It's already in the bylaws. There's no reason to amend the bylaws.
So then why are we having the discussion?
We should just make it a policy that that's what we do, you
Yeah.
know? That- yeah.
And let me say, I believe, anyway, we're going to see more of this happening. We are getting more and more notices on a fairly regular, even though they may be late, but a fairly regular basis, okay?
Like
Rosemary?
finding out you're on the agenda of math, huh?
For anybody who doesn't know, RFR is a request for review. This is the Community Development Department sends these out to agencies where, you know, they want to know if the fire department
you,
has
Lisa.
anything to say. And we've done a lot to make ourselves relevant in this process by asking community development to notify us as part of the RFR group. So it would just be great if we do our part to remain relevant when these things come up. Because if we had just seen this and it was the Dollar General, everybody would be up in a flap and what do we do? And it's too late, it's not an action item. So I think just having anything that's RFR should, I think, automatically be an action item on the
Okay.
agenda.
Let's do that. Kate has a comment? Oh.
Listening here, I also have an idea that people can think about, and that is that we could draft kind of an automatic RFR loop response, which is what you suggested, Monica, about just that we want to remain in the loop. We have concerns, whatever it is, about water, about traffic, about noise, all the things that people normally have problems with, which would be automatically sent out if there was not an opportunity for a meeting to occur, so that we would have a voice in the response, even though it wasn't voted on. But we could vote on that automatically generated letter. That is something that we could have as an agenda item. Everybody could bring their own ideas on what they would like included into an automatic letter, that when we get something that there isn't time before the next meeting to actually make it an action item and draft something, that we would just send a letter that says we want to stay in the loop, we're concerned about the things we're usually concerned about, make a list, and that the board could make a decision to send out that letter if there was no chance to draft something as a group. So that's my suggestion. Anybody else want the
Okay.
microphone?
Okay, so,
You need a motion?
sure. Or no, it's not an action item.
Wait,
I'm
but
sorry.
but that's,
But then you're dead in the water. You can't do anything unless you get some approval to do something.
Exactly.
I make a motion that, as an agenda item at the next meeting, we put together an automatic response RFR if the date is too quick for us to meet again, and that everybody can bring their own drafts in, and we can try and coalesce those into a single draft that could be then sent by either our secretary, who is handling the correspondence, or maybe two people on the board.
I,
That's my
And by the way, I literally just got this today, this afternoon.
right, so then it's like, so if the agenda has something on it that just RFRs that require action, and it's open-ended like that, then we can just populate it as it comes.
Correct.
And also, John, I have a question for you. As far as these letters go, if we just had a letter that the people of the Middletown Area Town Hall have some concerns, and we just had check boxes, and we just did water, traffic, trees, pollution, whatever, is that as strong as a letter, or at least strong enough?
If you're regular and consistent about responding, I think that's equivalent.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to, Lisa, also to that end, this response to an RFR goes to the Community Development Department. It doesn't go to the Planning
Oh.
Commissioner. So this is at the stage of it's being collected at the Community Development Department, where they put,
Email comes from CBD.
yes. where they put all the information together then and create their staff report.
But a template could still work.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we want to make a motion to your suggestion?
Microphone.
And I include John in this because he's planning commission. Every project that we've ever done always has time for a pre-permit meeting. Before anything is touched, before anybody is given any notification or anything, a certain number of people are called and asked to be at that meeting for preliminary comment. Is that right, John?
Pre-application meeting.
Yeah, pre-application meeting. Now, if we're gonna ask for something, let's ask for permission to be at the pre-app meetings so that we can get in on the ground floor. We won't be left behind. We won't be at the tail end of the notification. We'll be at the beginning.
Okay. Yes.
Marlene Elder, you said that you just got notification of that today, which obviously isn't enough notice to even get it on the agenda, to get it noticed to everybody. But is there a way to do it as an emergency?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what Lisa proposed.
Okay.
So, and the same way that I just put the pet health, item on the agenda so Nanette can speak about that for 5 minutes. So that also was something that came in after the agenda. I could have done that same thing with that. My fault. My fault.
So just by having a spot, we have a practice.
Yes, exactly. So I think that'll work fine. I don't even think we need a motion on that. Again, as I think Fletcher pointed out also, as the chair, I do create the agenda, so I will add that on to future agendas. Thank you. Any other comments on that? Seeing none, moving on to projects. Any other correspondence, Secretary? No, okay, thank you. Projects, so the major use permit for the commercial cannabis cultivation of 19.6 acres out on Grange Road. Again, that was to be heard at the Planning Commission this morning. It has been brought to my attention that some people maybe didn't get the attachment, the PDF attachment in their email, and others maybe did. I'm not quite sure. I do know that sometimes when we send out emails, if there's too many attachments or too much data going through, something gets
too many
left
people.
off
Yeah.
or gets bounced. So, again, as a volunteer organization here, trying to work in accordance with the Brown Act, we're doing the best we can. So anyway, on to this project. I'll open the floor.
Chairman, I'd ask Mr. Comstock to give us a brief.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jim Comstock. We live at 19955 Grange Road, which is the address of this project. Our family, brief history of our family, we've been in California for 7 generations. The first gentleman's here in 1841, way before the gold rush. Excuse me. And 6 generations have been involved in agriculture. The 7th is our grandchildren. They're not yet involved in ag. And 4 generations have been right here in Middletown. Our roots are very, very, very deep. California, very, very deep right here in Middletown. A lot of you who've been involved in ranching would know and realize ranching is not particularly profitable. And many times we personally have faced the possibility of losing the special place that we've been on for 81 years. My dad came here 81 years ago. We fought to preserve it, and we're still here. We feel an enormous responsibility to be good stewards of the land. That's what we've always done, and to use it responsibly. And cannabis, after very extensive research, cannabis appears to be the best use of the land, and the project really seeks to farm with very minimal permanent impact. Other projects would have been much, much, much easier to do, and in some cases maybe more profitable. This is an opportunity to allow the ranch that we know and love to be self-sufficient without defacing it. And there's a community benefit to this. It provides ag jobs. This is a traditional ag community. Provide tax benefit to the county, which the county has a very hefty tax appetite. They need the money. And this will provide resources for all residents. This is our home. I've lived here my entire life with the exception of time going to college and in the Navy. I've been in Middletown. We're raised here, raised our children here. Some of our grandchildren are being raised here. I dedicated my life to Middletown and to Lake County, and we want what's best for this place. And we very firmly feel that this project is good for the community. I think I probably took my 2 minutes, and now my son will speak, and there'll be opportunity for questions. After James, there are going to be 3 of us, and then you can ask all of us questions. If that
Well,
works for
and
you.
again, this is not a presentation, so
It's
this
just
is
public
open,
comment.
yeah, this is public comment on this item on the agenda.
Thank you. My name is James Comstock. I grew up here in Middletown. I graduated from Middletown High School in 1992. I love to see you folks here. I love this town like my family, and I love our ranch like my child. We have, as my dad said, scratched and clawed to save that area. There are people who come, they want to buy our ranch, they want to do any number of things with it. We don't want to sell. We don't even necessarily need to make money on it, but the ranch needs to cover its expenses. And in all my lifetime, that has never happened. We carefully researched cannabis to see if this was a solution to the problem. We saw ample water. We saw previously disturbed land, hayfields, that we could use to where we wouldn't have to break up ground that is covered in native plants. And we carefully vetted the people who we're working with. This isn't something that we've approached casually. This is something that we have approached very carefully, to the point that we battled over this a little bit to find out if this was the right thing. We came to the conclusion that it is, for the ranch, for our family, for the preservation of the open and wild space that we have. This is an 1,800-acre ranch. This is an incredibly tiny footprint on it to preserve a vast, large swath of native land. We're excited at this opportunity. Part of our contract with our grower is the inclusion of a vegetable garden to donate to the community, to give to the senior center, to the needy. This is a holistic approach, and I regret that we don't have more time to talk today, but I am happy to stay after and answer anyone's questions. I know these things are, there's a lot of big feelings about cannabis, from us too. We're happy to talk to you about our feelings, and we're an open book on this. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Erin Cherry. I'm incognito because I used to be Erin Comstock. I grew up here also. I graduated from Middletown High School in 1999. And I moved back after I was married, and I'm raising my family here. I have 3 kids in the school system, and we just came from a middle school softball game. And I love this community. I love raising my children here, and I love the ranch so much. I don't live on the ranch. I live here in town. Almost every day, I drop my kids off at school, and I go out to the ranch to walk my dog, run off energy, and I've become a wildlife native plant hobbyist. I am by no means an expert, but I have learned so much about the land I grew up on and thought I knew. I love it so much, and when this idea of cannabis first came out, I was not in favor. My brother alluded to the fact that we've had lots of discussions, and we have had to battle through this to decide what's best. And it's been a very long and in-depth process, and we haven't taken it lightly. It's not an easy out. I would say it's not easy at all. It's been quite the process to get even to this, to this point. I am happy with the plan to go forward. As it's been said, the land that we use was previously used for agriculture, and it's a small percentage of our ranch, and it will allow us to preserve the vast majority of it as it is now. And I hope that we can, because I'm raising my children here who love to go out and play and visit as often as possible. They love the land as much as I do, which is the only thing I could have hoped for them to love it as much as I do. And I want it to be there for them. And the costs of owning land in California is not cheap. And this is our best plan to be able to keep it in our family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more comment, I forgot. I
Yeah.
graduated from Middletown High School.
He had to say it.
They have a high school there?
Yeah, thank you. Before we move on, let me, and I should have done this before the Comstock spoke too, but, so this project, this is a major use permit with a presented mitigated negative declaration for commercial cannabis cultivation, including 20 A Type 3 medium outdoor licenses for 19.6 acres of outdoor canopy. The applicant is Rancho Lake LLC at the Grange Road address, as indicated. Let's see, some of the features of the project include up to the 19.6 acres of outdoor canopy, 34-acre cultivation area, 540 by 156,000 square feet harvest, storage, and staging areas, engineered fabric structures there's photographs in the packet, 2 10 by 12 storm-proof sheds for chemical, pesticide, hazardous material and storage, 1 storm-proof shed for office and security use, 25,000-gallon water storage tanks for irrigation and fire suppression, an employee parking area with 14 spaces and 1 ADA compliant space, on-site portable restroom and hand washing facilities, 6-foot galvanized woven wire fencing with access using metal gates secured by padlocks. So security cameras will be placed, et cetera, et cetera. So in the report, when you have an opportunity to read through it, and if you didn't get a copy of the PDF, please contact the Math Secretary so we can get that sent to you. But there are links to all of the items about this project, including water, the hydraulic analysis, the drought management plan, biological resource assessment, tribal comments, which I think there were none. Anyway, it goes on about the power, the PG&E, chemical storage, construction, operation, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, I printed out like 8 or 9 pages here, and I believe this report was about 50 some odd pages, or 60 or something like that. So anyway, it's quite extensive report. So I'll turn it back over to the audience. Helen, you have the mic? No, I was just making it easy. Thank you.
Fletcher Thornton. I've known Jim Comstock for a long time. As a matter of fact, we ran cows on his property for years. And we've watched and dealt with Jim Comstock. And I'll tell you, there's not a more hard-headed person in the world when it comes to taking care of land. He is a steward of the land. I've seen him out there working his tail off in the middle of the hottest days. And you can be assured that if he says something that he's going to take care of the land, then you can just take that to the bank, because his nose would fall off if he ever tried to tell a lie. So you can have confidence in Jim Comstock and his lovely wife. They're quite a couple. I've been around them for years, dealt with them in business and in pleasure, and they're first-class individuals. And the reason I'm saying this, because I may have sounded like I was opposed to this project at the beginning. I'm not opposed to the project at all. I just didn't know whether it was appropriate to talk about it right now. But I am in favor of this project. If Jim says it's going to be a good project and he'll take care of the land, then I don't worry about it. Thank you.
Julia, I think that's you.
Yes, that's me. Should I come to the front or? No.
No,
Okay, good.
if you'd like to, but no
all right.
need to.
I just wanted to say that any time that we are replacing a potential animal agricultural facility with the growth of cannabis is probably an extremely good idea. Not only is it more environmentally sound, It is a better use of land in terms of the income level produced by a small amount of land. It can be substantially greater than the income produced by animal agriculture. Also, animal agriculture facilities are cruel, exploitative, they have violent results in slaughterhouses, and I think anything that we can do to get our county out of the potential use of properties in our county by animal agriculture is a very good thing. So I highly recommend the shift of farmers such as Mr. Comstock and his family away from any kind of animal agriculture activities and into cannabis cultivation. Thank you.
Lisa Kaplan, Jim and family, I have nothing against your wanting to steward the land or cannabis, as a matter of fact. What I have a problem with is how the valley is developing over there. The light, the noise, the amount of traffic. Like, for me, the devil's in the details, not in whether it's, oh, I mean, you can do that, but that's an awful lot of land that you're going to dedicate to that. And I'm concerned about how it's going to affect, well, my view, for one, and not just mine, but a lot of other people's, especially if it's going to, there's noise from generators, there's light, dark skies is a thing that we prioritize here, and I want to know for sure that you guys are prioritizing that and doing everything that you can to make sure that that's going to be intact, all kinds of things like that. I mean, I know you live, like, I can see where you live from my house. And so, I want to make sure that for me, who moved here to be in a rural area specifically, and, I haven't been here nearly as much as you, but I've been a committed citizen for 23 years, I would still like to see, like, how are you going to accomplish all of these things on 19 acres with the other 8 acres or whatever, all these numbers. It's really big, I also want to just caution you, the cannabis industry has a lot of problems, and hemp is maybe better. So just a couple of little things, but I have nothing against that. It's just the devil's in the details, and I just want to know that those details are being properly attended to.
Happy to talk to you about it outside the context when we're allowed.
Okay, Rosemary?
Thank you.
I'd love to see this on the agenda in a future meeting so we can all hear what you have to say and get behind you or get against you on it. We talk about cannabis a lot here, and we've fought off some cannabis.
Okay,
and
this is not a direct meeting to the Comstocks. This is to the entire body.
it's my public speaking time.
Yes.
I just am facing my face toward them. So I'd love to hear more, but just as we are looking at the kind of bigger impact of cannabis. We've heard now that the Diamond J will be the largest cannabis grow in California. That's directly across from Hidden Valley. As Lisa said, that's going to be a lot of cannabis, right? And we've already seen a permit for before your place on Grange Road. So there's going to be a lot of cannabis all around Hidden Valley. I'd love to hear about what you're saying with water. It troubled me to hear that there was going to be pesticide storage there. And we want to, I hope we'll hear from you on a future agenda so we can just get a better opinion about it. And good luck with your farm.
Marlene?
Yeah, Marlene Elder. I'm just curious, it sounds like you're partnering with an outside entity, or are you doing this all on your own?
Okay, we're not doing Q&A,
No?
so this is,
Okay.
you get 2 minutes for your public speaking. Thank you.
PDF didn't arrive though, so this would have probably been in the PDF. I think that question could be answered.
Yeah, I didn't get the PDF either. I just checked.
Nobody got the PDF.
Sometimes we just forget, because there's 3 PDFs, and so maybe just the 4th one you thought technology is not the nicest thing in the world all the time.
Correct.
Well, again, you guys, this is kind of a tricky project here right now, because if we're going to discuss this in detail and have a thorough Q&A with the applicant, then we need the other side present also in order to make a fair, question and answer on both sides, on all perspectives of the project. So if there's something that you need to know, then you need to ask it like in the general way of saying, this is the information I would like to have. as they've said, you can meet with them following this meeting and you can ask them that question. But during this meeting, this is the entire body here, and we're just briefly discussing this project with 2-minute input from various different members of the audience. Okay? Hank?
Have we agreed to put it on the agenda for next week, next month as an action item, so we can have both sides present?
We could, so nobody has made that motion or that suggestion at this point?
Providing, however, that the chairperson can contact everybody and get everybody on board before we put it on the agenda.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is we do need to get the material out to everyone so you all can read the report or read the attachments.
And the other half of my question, is it appropriate for us to do that before the Plan Commission meets?
Yes,
Okay.
for sure, because that's what we want our comments to be heard at the Planning Commission.
Yeah, you want to be informed.
So this is actually, on this particular go-around, this is actually a blessing for us because, as noted on the agenda, again, we did not have time as a math group to meet and discuss this and provide comment to the Planning Commission had that meeting happened this morning. So since it didn't happen, we now have the opportunity to discuss this a little bit more and offer a comment.
Put on the agenda for next month.
We could do that.
Bring up a motion.
The only thing is that we do have our supervisor, Moak Simon, on the June agenda.
All right, a month after that, let's get it on board, let's start talking about it.
Right. Yes. Planning Commissioner Hess?
I think you might want to aim for next. This is John Hess. I'm not commenting on the project.
Right,
I think
right.
you might want to aim for next month, since the lion's share of the work on the staff report, et cetera, and other documentation has been done. There might be an enhanced CEQA analysis component, but 2 months from now, the window might be closing again. Just a piece of advice.
Correct.
On item 7, we can put it on when we get to item 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Definitely. And in the meantime, I can check with the planning department. I can check with Director Maria Turner and ask her if she has a projected date for that to be ready to go to the Planning Commission again. Yes.
This is cannabis related. Hi, I'm Carlos Bono. This is cannabis related. The federal government, the DEA, has just agreed to reschedule marijuana as a Schedule 3 instead of, the way they had it for, I know it's 50 years too late, but it's better late than never. Anyway, I just thought I'd do that.
Thank you. Anybody else have comments on this project? No other comments? Okay. Then as we get down to the agenda items, we'll revisit this, and I'm sure we'll end up putting it on a future agenda. So the next item on the agenda is the PG&E GI landfill. There was a few questions. Again, this is the little correspondence that was received, but we had a few questions when PG&E was here giving us the presentation, and they sent those questions and answers. There's 3. One was, how big is the plume in volume? The answer, approximately 270 acre feet. How deep is the consolidated waste? Approximately 14 to 24 feet below the ground surface. And number 3, can you provide a measurement for how far the plume has moved off-site at that leading edge? And their answer, the plume does not appear to have moved off-site. Concentrations of boron in the off-site wells have been below background concentration levels based on many years of groundwater monitoring. The plume figure presented is an approximation and shows the background concentration levels. So, and again, PG&E also sent their presentation, which was also requested during that meeting, And we do have that. We did not want to send that out to everyone because it is a large presentation, but if you're interested in receiving that, please contact Ken, the secretary, and we'll get that to you.
What was the size again? I'm sorry. How many cubic feet? 200 and
270 acre feet.
200 and what?
270 acre feet.
Stupid, I'm just speaking, everybody else speaks out of turn, and ignores you, Monica. So why not? I don't mean to be disrespectful, but
Thank you.
being in the water, that's a lot of water. I was shocked to hear that, because that is, let me get my 90 million, 90.5 million gallons, just in case anybody wants to put that in their head.
Okay. Thank you. So, on to item before item number 6. Nanette, you're on.
Okay. I was asked by this committee to kind of form a little committee on looking into into what is going on in this county as far as pet spaying and neutering. It was suggested to me to go to this particular group that has started up. It's called the Lake County Pet Health and Safety Network, and this is their new logo that they've come up with. And this particular group is just formed. They've had 3 meetings. I've attended 2. Very informational. The people on this group, there were 21 people the first meeting I went to, and about 15 on the second. These are SPCA workers. They are pet foster parents. A lady came the other day that's working with somebody running for office, and she had some ideas. But the person who is instigating all of this is Bruce Robinson, and I have his phone number here, and I also have an email address if anyone's interested. And we identified in the second meeting, that was the first I attended, 10 items that were of major importance in Lake County. And the first was a shortage of vets. And we lost our veterinarian 2 years ago. He passed away. But the main issue is the cost of getting a vet to live here, to move here. So we came up with a lot of different ideas. I myself was a grant person getting my special education credentials. So I asked if this person that was liaison, if she could look into that, getting some kind of grants for vets, or getting the grant I had help pay off my student loans. What he asked us to do was watch this TED Talk, and I do have the address for that if anyone's interested. And the young lady that did the TED Talk was a veterinarian, and she had a lot of information, good and bad. 2 out of 3 vets today are women. 1 in 3 commit suicide. It takes 10 years of college to be a veterinarian, more than a doctor. And the author that was doing the TED Talk owes $286,000 in student loans. She said she'll be able to pay those loans off by the time she's 62. So that's why I made the suggestion of some kind of state grant, and she is going to bring that to the person she's working with to take it to the governor. There's a way that we can help pay those loans for potential vets. We also need 4 vet techs in order to have a veterinarian. And that's a 2-year of college to get that particular certificate. So another issue that came up was more low-cost spaying and neutering. And from what I understand, there's 10 to 12,000 feral, just cats. And if we were able to stop the reoccurrence of kittens and stray dogs and what have you, not all of us agree with spaying and neutering, I understand that, but it's going rampant in this county. And part of the reason it's going rampant is funds. People don't have the funds. I checked into getting my dog spayed. It was going to be up to $1,000. So I went to another county and did it for $225. So big difference. And not that every single person can even afford $200-300, but they do offer some of these clinics where they have a free clinic and people who can't afford can pay what they can pay. The third item was loose dogs and what happens with loose dogs. And there's an occurrence of loose dogs being let out at night, forming packs, attacking sheep, doing whatever. I had one kill 5 chickens on Easter Sunday in my yard, so I totally am with that. The fourth item, which I already mentioned, feral cats not being spayed or neutered. A big problem is puppies being dumped. And the old, at Kitts Corner, that old SPCA, people are leaving kittens in boxes, puppies, dogs tied up to the fence. And the lady from the SPCA said sometimes when she goes by on her way to work, she sees them, but she can't always rescue them. They're already dead because they've been left, they've been dumped. So, you know, whether or not you agree with spaying or neutering, we have this excess amount of animals. And if they were spayed or neutered, we'd have less, and hopefully none. The sixth issue was animal control officers who are stuck or don't seem to care, and how can we help those officers? I know I was making a frantic call when this neighbor's dog was in my yard with chickens in its mouth, and they didn't come out for 3 weeks. The dog was supposed to be taken away because it's a second offense. Didn't happen. Dog's still there. And then unstaffed animal control. We're down to 1 officer. Some of the suggestions that were made, same thing that the sheriff came in with his idea about hiring people from rural areas that already live, you know, where we live or north of us, to try to get them to get into animal control. And there's a buy-in if they've already lived in an area like this for them to continue living in this area. So kind of the same idea that the sheriff had with having, the new sheriff, having somebody hiring new people, is getting them from rural areas. Because what happens with vets, with the vet officers, is that they can get paid more in Napa, or they can get paid more in Marin County than they can up here. And so if they don't have a buy-in up here to live here in a beautiful place, then we're gonna lose them. Okay, and number 8 was that all of the shelters that we have are at capacity. So you may or may not agree to spaying and neutering, but who agrees to have animals killed? You know, even though they say there are no kill facilities, when they get to capacity, something's gotta give. And then number 9 was the Board of Supervisors and City Council in Clear Lake not taking these issues seriously. And so that's what we're hoping we can bring that to the Board of Supervisors at least. City Council would be in Clear Lake. And probably the last and most important thing was education to the public. And Bruce, who's started this group, is going to be at the Bass Derby with a booth, and he wants to do that at our farmers market, at all the markets, at all the, you know, public events, and just show people, you know, why it's important to take care of your animals. You know, really it comes down to, if you own an animal, you need to take care of it. And many people don't. They just get tired of it, have puppies, dump them. We talked about somebody that's in front of Walmart on a continual basis with puppies. And, you know, do something with that dog. So if you have any other questions, I have the TED Talk, if anybody, have the address if anybody wants to view it. It was quite eye-opening. I was really surprised. Yes?
I had requested to be on that committee, and
Yeah.
I was not contacted.
It's
This-
not a committee.
Yeah.
Well, there was supposed to have been a meeting to be held.
This is a meeting that is done by Bruce
Yeah.
Robinson. It's a volunteer in the
Yeah.
No,
community.
no, the math group had, at a previous meeting,
Exactly.
said that there would be a group set up to discuss this issue. I had
Yes.
requested specifically and given my email address to be participated in that group, and I was not contacted.
Yes, and I'm telling you that this was not a committee meeting.
Okay.
So this here was a local volunteer in the community. I believe he's from Cobb. He organized and orchestrated this meeting. Nanette attended that meeting.
So why were the other
because she
people
heard
not
about
notified of it, or that
I-
it should
was
be
on
presented?
Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a community
Yeah. Talking to
notice.
me.
Yeah.
Well,
And actually, I was gonna let you know about the next meeting.
And
Okay.
that's why
Yeah.
Nanette is talking about this now.
Can
Okay.
someone else have a discourse on the subject? I mean, I think that we've heard a lot about one side of the issue. I think there's also another video on YouTube that you can watch called "The Truth About Spaying and Neutering" by Dr. Becker, and you can find out the health issues and the ethical issues involved. It is not a safe procedure. Certainly not a safe procedure. It is not a healthy procedure. It causes adrenal dysfunction and thyroid dysfunction in animals. It
Okay.
also can cause developmental issues. And I think that to be presenting it
She has
as
2
a
minutes.
safe procedure is erroneous. Please do not do that. This is a high-risk procedure. It should not be taken lightly.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not,
Thank you.
I'm not giving you the yes or no's on either, it's what you choose. I joined this group, came to these meetings as a liaison to this committee to tell you what's going on and what people are doing about it. Now, the next meeting is May 19th. We meet here, that's a Sunday, from 12:30 to 3:30. The meetings only last a couple hours at most. We are not meeting, we'd usually do it every 2 Sundays, but we're not meeting because it's Mother's Day. So May 19th,
Who is we, may I ask?
this is the group. It's called Lake County Pet Health and Safety Network. And this is a community group throughout Lake County that has formed to look at these issues.
This
Now-
is separate from math.
This is separate from that.
Yeah.
So will the math group that had previously been indicated it would be formed?
You are part
Also
of
meet.
the committee.
I see. Okay,
So-
when will that committee meet, please?
I don't know. You are part of that committee. I am not part of that committee.
Hi, okay, Marlene Elder, that committee was originally established because there was discretionary money through the Board of Supervisors. And I suggested that they use that money for spaying and neutering issues. But I did call I called and talked to Moak about it because I wanted to know what he needed from us in order to disperse the money or whatever. If he needed a letter, a recommendation, whatever. And he said it's not about money. It's about the fact that there are no veterinarians. So at this point, the committee that was established to deal with any discretionary money towards spaying and neutering is not a necessity because it's not about money.
Read your grand jury report.
Yeah, he was saying that, yeah. So I have his information, and you're welcome to come to any of the meetings. As I said, I just went as a liaison so I could find out what was going on, and they aren't necessarily for spaying and neutering. The main goal is to get a vet for low-cost veterinary visits, if spaying and neutering, shots, whatever, because we currently don't have that. Kelseyville does have an SPCA that does spaying and neutering and does other things, but they're at capacity. And so it's a 3-month waiting if you want to have your animal spayed or neutered. That's if you want to do that. Yes.
I don't pretend to support spaying and neutering, but I did want to say that the usual way of handling that is to import a vet and have a clinic.
They're working on that, but they have not been able. Again, money is a factor.
I don't
We
mean
have-
hire a
yeah,
vet. I mean
yeah.
import a vet for a specific clinic, and then they go back to wherever they live.
That's what Kelseyville does. However, the TED Talk that I watched talks a lot about that. Veterinarians, it's very difficult to borrow one or get them to come up. because they are stretched to the limit.
Students, you get students.
That we talked about that as well, and we're looking into that as one of the solutions. And as I said, I made some suggestions about some kind of grants for student loans. That's a big issue. And as I said, 1 in 3 vets commit suicide, and this woman talked directly about that because they work 10 to 12 hours a day, and people, it's like when my mother was in the hospital dying. You're frantic. You're angry.
I've worked in a
you know.
vet's office. I
Okay.
know exactly what happens.
Okay.
They spend most
Okay.
of their time killing animals and cutting them apart.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yes,
we need to
it's not
move on, please. Thank you. Nanette, was that the end of your report?
Yes.
Okay.
Copy of what?
Thank you.
Oh, I
Um,
gave that to you.
So on to the next item is the follow-up discussion on the Middletown Area Plan Update April meeting, comments, questions, and next steps. And I put this on the agenda because prior to, well, a few months back, as we had talked about, we knew that the area plan was coming up for review, for update, and we wanted to get out ahead of that. So the county, of course, planned those meetings to come around. That was the first initial meeting, and I guess I wanted to revisit this and see where we want to go from here, or what area or areas we as a math body would like to focus on. And again, much like the project that we heard about earlier this evening, and the other project that I presented that just came in the mail today, but the area plan, the general plan, while there are policies in there that relate to people and what we want as a body, but the majority of it, or the body of it, is really about land use. So it's about how we want to see the area, the community grow, what changes we want to see made in zoning, in land use, that fulfills our vision of what, I guess, Middletown's quality of life is. So with that, before we proceed with comments and questions about next steps for that, I guess I did want to just jump ahead a little bit, as I did reach out, because another comment that we had talked about was we had the big binder here of the engineered feasibility study that was done back in 2014. And I did contact Caltrans about that. That was done by APC, which stands for the Lake County Planning Council. And they had prepared that study for Caltrans, and of course got a lot of community input. To be honest, in my conversations with various different people, this is like one of those plans that it kind of got shelved and collected some dust. And in talking to various different people, I kind of reminded them of the plan. Anyway, long story short here is basically we do have somebody from Caltrans and the Caltrans representative and a planner that is working down here in our area on both some current projects that are coming up and future projects, and he very much would like to come again in what they're doing, what Caltrans is doing. This is perfect timing, and again, I think that fits well into us and what we want to do for the future with the Middletown area plan. So just keeping that in mind, currently I've talked to him and what's his name? Anyway, but he will be here, or can be here July or August for a meeting. So just want to throw that out there, and now I will open up the floor for discussion about the area plan. Yes, Fletcher.
When you talked to Caltrans, did they say that they had a plan or some kind of preliminary plan for the work to be done?
Yes, they do.
They do.
He said that he did not share with me exactly what projects, but he said he has several projects that are getting underway now. I mean, I think we see one of the signs just north on Highway 29. But there are several projects and several in the planning stage, and that's why he wants to have a planner here also.
Well, yeah, the binder that you're talking about was all of our input, nothing from them about what they were going to do. Do we have any projections as to their vision of our town?
That's what he will come and share with us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
he was trying to get it together to come to this meeting, actually, but he couldn't do that, or he couldn't get the two schedules working together, so he asked for, to come at the July or August meeting. Yes, he wants to come and discuss, answer everybody's questions, so hopefully we get that advertised, well in advance. I have no idea. Is Moak here this evening? I'm not in charge of his schedule.
It says June 13th, updates from MOC.
Correct.
Next meeting.
Correct, next meeting.
Yeah, so he'll be here next meeting.
So, any other comments or questions about what the county presented to us at the last meeting, or direction of where this body wants to go with that information, or any area that we want to perhaps sit down and focus on?
I'm sorry, but I've just been involved in this from day one. I think our thrust, this body here, the plan's going to be done according to Caltrans. It's their right of way, it's their money. The question for us, I think, is on the area plan. Where do you want this town to grow? Which way?
Correct.
Are we going to make the town grow along 129 until it gets to be such a problem that they bypass the town? Or are we going to take some action and say, we want single-family homes out 175 or out Butts Canyon? That's where we think we ought to grow. Do we want high density downtown, low density outside of town? How do we want to handle that? We after our discussion on the division, the housing for Gwinnett, I had the feeling everybody wants big lots. Well, you can't have big lots and affordable housing. Just tell you, it doesn't work.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So we ought to have some discussion about what we want, and we meaning the whole group, not me, the whole group. What do we want our town to look like? Do we want to have high density with walkability? That project you're talking about is only a block, less than a block to schools, a block to a grocery store, a block and a half to the bank, 2 blocks to the post office. So that's the kind of thing that we want to look at, to have walkability, to keep traffic at a minimum, since we have no parking downtown to speak of. So my suggestion is that, Madam Chairman, if we could, sometime down the road, get a committee and decide those ideas before the area committee gets busy, and then we go to them and say, look, here's what we'd like to have. We've talked to everybody in the community, and we'd like to see high-density downtown, low-density out, no more 5-acre lots 1 block from downtown. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And that's, yes, and so that's what I want to hear from this body. So the other thing, though, that I will add that needs to be considered is infrastructure. And that's, of course, where Caltrans comes in with the roads. And then the county also comes in with roads on that, but then we also have water and sewer. So without water and sewer, again, there is no growth. So we do need to follow our water and our sewer lines also, and talk with those entities of, where that growth can occur. So any comments from anybody else? I heard different comments at the meeting before about big box stores, and there was confusion about whether we can or can't have them. There was a variety of different concerns. Kate?
Yes, Kate Schmidt-Hopper again. I'm curious, was this a one and done sort of thing where the county came in and had this one little informational kind of, everybody gets into small groups sort of and talk it out, hash it out sort of thing? Or is this like an initial meeting?
Yeah, this is the first of several that will occur. And my perspective on it is this was, basically bringing the community together to find out what direction the community wants to go in. We are working with a consultant called PlaceWorks, we meaning the county, all of us are working with this consultant. That consultant doesn't know us. So I think if you look at several of the meetings, there were some things which I'm sure they take into consideration, those things that were consistent, from community to community for the overall Lake County as far as when it comes to the general plan. And then they're looking at it by community. In my opinion, and this is just, my opinion, that first initial meeting was basically for us all to get to know each other, and then also to get an idea of what the policies should be in the area plan that then become, define, then break it down into more of the specifics.
Well, it appears to me that what the initial thing that has to happen with this body is for us to identify the issues that we're concerned about. You mentioned infrastructure, that's one. Water, that would be another. Density, that's another. And perhaps what we need to do as a body is actually take a vote and decide which are our top 10 issues, so that then we can present those where it's not just a hodgepodge of people sitting together at a table. Well, my opinion is, so if we're going to actually be an agency, then the agency needs to present a unified front. And so as a group, maybe once again, I don't know how that happens within our once-a-month meeting framework, but to actually identify those things, and it can be done on a survey with SurveyMonkey or something like this. Don't ask me how to do that, but I've taken them. And so that then the board could take that SurveyMonkey totals together, and that would be your top 10 issues, which we could then at our next meeting present, instead of everybody just kind of wandering around and not presenting a unified front if we're going to be a group.
Kate,
I agree.
Kate, one thing that I heard at the end of the meeting, there was a consensus that we wanted a small town community feel. And that was one of the things that all the groups agreed upon, in traffic and a lot of other issues. But that was one of the main points the presenter did conclude, that we wanted a small town feeling.
Right, and that even needs its own definition. It needs to be defined. What does that mean,
What does a
small
small
town?
town?
Does that mean that it's only 3 or 4 blocks wide, in a square? Or does that mean that that all the businesses are small? There's no franchise businesses. There's no corporate businesses. That needs to be defined.
Right,
You
is
can't
it
just-
walkable communities, which in
with
case we need sidewalks?
I mean, so those are the things that need to be actually defined.
Yes.
In order to not just kind of be running around in circles as individual people.
And that may be one item to tackle then, first identifying what's the definition of small town?
I think it's helpful that then that we're all talking about the same thing, and then until you have a definition, you don't have uniformity as a group. We can all disagree on whatever we want to, however often we want to do that.
Right.
But if we're going to present as a group to an area plan, to the planning department, to the community development department, we need to be a unified group, and so we have to start with some definitions.
Right. Marlene?
Marlene Elder. There's just one thing that we all seriously need to take into consideration before we consider adding anything to our town, is the fact that our sewer is at capacity. So that would need to be addressed before we start thinking about adding homes and such to the sewer system.
If you have a sewer system.
Right, well, if they're talking density in town, they're going to need a sewer system, they're not gonna be able to put in septic. So that's something to keep in mind for everybody.
They just doubled our rates in order to pay for 1,257 additional EDUs, mostly not for Middletown.
So, Lisa?
when the Middletown area plan was done many years ago, there were meetings, and they were not all math. They were separate from math as well. Yeah.
It was before math.
Yeah, so we should, whether it's, I mean, I am proposing that we do special meetings, you know, on the other weeks. It's also really important that Hidden Valley is involved in this, and they can't come because the meetings are on the same day. You know, Hidden Valley is a big part of this whole development zone.
Okay, so let me add to that real quick, just that the Board of Supervisors did approve to have area plan committees formed. In addition to, they formed the General Plan Committee of 15 members that Dan Terrell is on from Middletown. And they have since approved for the Middletown area plan to have its own committee as well as the other area plans throughout the county. So as far as I know, those committees have not been established yet. But people are applying, sending in applications.
But those committees don't represent everybody. You know, it's like we need to have like.
No, I'm just letting you and everybody know that
whatever you want to say about what we did last time, a lot of people showed up and a lot of voices were heard. And that's what we're really looking for. That's the bottom line, is that we want to be able to put on the wall, these are our concerns. There's a consensus about these concerns. There's a consensus about like the small town thing. I mean, we want to be able to bring that, you know, when we were looking at the Middletown area plan, whenever we look at the general plan and we look at the Middletown area plan. So it's all connected and all related. And so, yeah, we should have like our own conducted focus group. It would be nice if somebody, if we can't hire somebody to facilitate, but it would be nice if we had somebody who could facilitate something like that. And again, I want to say it would be really good to not do it on a day when Hidden Valley has a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm Helen Owen.
Yes.
Is it okay for me to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know one of the things that we did back, was it in the early 2000s or whenever it was we put that together? I guess it was the late 2000s.
Let me ask a question real quick. It's just a show of hands. How many people in this room participated in the area plan meetings when it was done in 2008? Okay.
So I was on both those committees. And what was kind of cool about that I don't know if they're going to do right now, but we first did the Hidden Valley and hashed that out. And then we went to Middletown and hashed that out and merged them, which I thought was kind of a cool way to do it, because when we were in Hidden Valley, there was only a couple of us that were on both boards. And I think it was Grant Hardister, myself. And so we got a lot of the Hidden Valley, most of the people there were from that area, so we got their input. And then we came to Middletown and it merged with, we also had Hidden Valley on that board. So it was kind of a cool way to do it, and I don't know that that's what's being planned right now, but that I thought it worked well.
Well, just to clarify on that particular, and I could be wrong on this, Ed Roby would be the man that would know. He was the supervisor then, and what he did was he formed the Coyote Valley group, but Coyote Valley is not an area plan. It's the Middletown area plan. But he did recognize that there was enough differences out in Coyote Valley. So it's like, that was like a non-Brown Act committee. So that was put together by people, you know, kind of more centrally located out in Coyote Valley to bring those needs and interests and desires to the officially formed Middletown area.
That's absolutely correct. And the other thing, going back to something that was said about when we had our first meeting here, about, I think they were looking for commonalities. So at each table, I think there was, 7 tables. They're looking to see what is popping up time and time again, to kind of know what and because there was a lot of things. And interestingly enough, I was at the Lower Lake the night before, and many of the things that they had said at that meeting were also said at ours about the small town atmosphere, keeping our rural environment, et cetera, our agriculture. So a lot of those same things were echoed here.
But to that point, as Kate was saying, that we need definitions.
Absolutely.
Because I know when we talk about keeping agriculture, so for instance, from the Sierra Club point of view, keeping agriculture is keeping open space. And so it's really about open space that certain entities or certain people are more interested in rather than actual agricultural operations in some cases. So, but again, you know, there are different perspectives. We all come at this from different directions of why we want open space, you know, so we need to define, what does that mean? So, and you can't just have open space, you know, we love big wide open areas and stuff, but one of the things is the Comstocks are here to talk about, you know, that it costs money to keep open space going. You know, it's like you can't just live next door to a ranch and go, hey, I love the views, but you're not paying the taxes and you're not paying the expenses, you know, so that's something we need to all keep in mind. Yes, Fletcher?
We should always keep in mind that, oh, I'm sorry. That the cost of living in this county continues to go up because the cost of living goes up, the cost of government goes up. We get more and more retirees from the administrations, both state, but that continues to go up. Our problem is that we have no growth, so we have no way of growing income. They have tried, as I remember, 4 times in the last few years to raise taxes. They have not been successful at all. So we have a choice. If growth is necessary to maintain our lifestyle, then we have to make sure we get that growth where we want it and how we want to see it. You should sometime go to Suisun. I've been to Suisun. Go downtown Suisun and then go out where they have all the big box areas. They're not compatible. You don't even see it. But downtown, they have pop-outs, they have trees, they have parks. It's just beautiful downtown. But but the big box stores are out where they're all together, where they should be, out by the highway. So we have to plan how we want our town and our area to grow. We are the gateway to Lake County. Everybody has always said that. So we have to plan carefully for growth, because growth is going to come whether you like it or not. This is not always going to be a 25-store town. So you got to understand that. It's not going to be. We had 3 businesses go out this last 2 weeks. There's another one getting ready to close because there's not enough customers. So when we get together, let's keep that in mind. That we have to have growth, but we want to have it where we want it and how we want it to help this community.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so the chairman, we have a contract company that comes here, and they should be able to organize all of this stuff to, you know, as they see fit. We have a contract company, the one that came here before.
Are you talking about PlaceWorks?
Yes.
Oh.
So PlaceWorks could come and organize and coordinate all the input.
Well, they will hold another meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But there was a consensus from the group before that we should get our definitions in order. I like that. So we should, you know, be able to better define, rather than just that meeting that we just had last month, you know, talking about we want a small town. I agree with Kate. What does that mean? What does that actually look like? What are the details?
Well, that's what this contract company should do. They would run a survey and, you know, and ask these kind of questions and get definitions. So we already have someone to assist us in this process.
They don't work for us. They work for the county. So they don't, yeah.
Oh, I could find their address easy enough.
Yeah.
The county is.
Yeah, but
they're a contract company.
Yeah, but their contract is going to be through what the Board of Supervisors just approved at putting together a committee to work on the area plan. So that's who PlaceWorks is going to work with. They're going to, they already have projected as far as however many meetings they're going to have. You know, I'm not sure when the next time it is that they're gonna come back and meet with this group, but I'm sure it's already on their, on a calendar.
Correct.
So I can find that information
Right.
out. So,
It has nothing to do with what I'm proposing.
I know,
Totally separate.
I get you. Mm-hmm.
There's another general plan in the fall.
Pat has it.
Spring of 2025.
Okay,
But what he's saying is we need to be proactive, have what we want ready, instead of them telling us. Yeah.
They don't tell us what
Yes,
we're gonna
Pat?
get.
Well-
They don't tell us. We tell them.
Went to that meeting
Y-
the other night, thought
no.
that was an organized meeting, you got holes in your head.
Well, so do you then. It wasn't, it was organized, it was well presented, you know. Well, I could hear
okay.
you
We have
blabber.
a microphone on the floor.
Yeah. Pat Roy, I'd like to agree about having a survey so that people can have their voices heard rather than the loudest voices dominating the whole conversation. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Pat.
thank you. Any other comments from the floor on this subject matter?
Well, I would just like to, I mean, I think we do need to be prepared. I just want to know what the action is that we're going to do. Like, what's next? What's the next step?
Yeah, since this board can't make any decisions or whatever, that's exactly why I asked this body.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm just asking people, it's like, what do we want the next step to be? Like, who's going to make a survey? I just think we should call a meeting.
I suggest that Matt
Mhm.
put out a notice that we are contemplating
Lisa.
the growth of Middletown. We'd like to ask anybody that has any comments at all to come to the math meeting first and get as many comments as we can. Because you're gonna get some crazy comments, so you have to kind of wiggle through it. But get them to come here, get them used to coming and helping. And that's gonna be the first step. Get a notice out that it's coming and we want you to participate, everybody to participate.
Yeah, we had a lot of different people here for the county meeting that was put on and facilitated by the county. So we need some of those bodies back in the room.
That's right.
So, okay, so I'm going to move on to the meeting agenda because we are past our time now. So, but the proposed meeting agenda for upcoming meetings. Just laying out that we have this project that was presented to us tonight. You know, we discussed with the Comstocks and other folks in the room made comments. So if Matt wants to move forward with exploring this project further, both receiving the PDF file and looking up, you know, the attached documents, as well as hearing from various different perspectives on this project, both from the applicant and from neighbors in the area. So we have that proposal as an idea, and that, as Planning Commissioner Hess had mentioned, may be more time sensitive, may not, but it may be. I did talk to Moak about attending the June meeting and coming and giving a mid-year County of the State update. If you recall, those of you who've been here before, we usually do that at the beginning of the year, but because of the election and whatnot, we were kind of put off course on that. And so I've asked him to come and do a mid-year. Now, I'm sure he may consider moving that to July if we so choose, if we feel a need to talk about the Rancho Lake project before that. Otherwise, we would have Moak come in June, and we have July and August. Again, I'm working with Caltrans and a Caltrans planner to be scheduled in on one of those meeting days to talk about projects here in Lake County that, in my opinion, will fit nicely with the area plan, since we do have Highway 29 that goes right down the middle of our town. So we have that going on. And so with that, let me know whether you would like me to, what you want me to juggle.
First, you got to find out if you can get all the bodies for that candidates meeting.
Mhm.
Will everybody be available for that month, I guess? Yeah, if they can't come.
No, it's neighbors. Mm-hmm. That live in close proximity. So, okay, so I'm gonna go with flexibility here then. So, trying to do the Rancho Lake project, either in June or July, depending on, individual schedules, and see what Moat can do, whether he can be a little flexible between those 2 months. And then it looks like, Caltrans perhaps in August, September. We're getting close again to election time. And so again, you know, whether we want to plan for this body to do a candidate forum for the November election, which would need to be September, because October would be kind of late.
You're gonna have to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be on the agenda.
Just so you know, when you make your planning, know that the general plan will be in the fall. September or October.
So that's a general, so you're saying general plan,
Meetings that we just had, the general plan where you spoke about how you want to see the growth.
that's the area plan.
Area plan, yeah.
So that's why I'm confused, because there is a general plan, and then there's the 8 area plans.
General, they call it the general area plan.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, so everybody good with that?
I just have a comment regarding the candidate forum. We hold candidate forum already.
That's not on the agenda.
But we have an election in November.
Right. Is it not since the same candidates are running that had previously attended the candidate forum, couldn't we perhaps dispense with it and deal with more pressing matters? You know what?
There's a runoff.
No, wait, Julia has a point, though, in that the Calpine usually holds a candidate forum, so maybe we don't need to do both. I'm just proposing, maybe we don't, and we don't have to decide right now.
Yeah. Calpine didn't hold it, they hosted it. It was held by Chamber.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah,
Yeah, the supervisor.
maybe not. I'm not on the Chamber. So, okay, so public input, anybody speak for 3 minutes, please. Microphone, Kate.
Since
You
I
got
grabbed
it.
the microphone.
Go.
So we decided that we need definitions. Is there anybody here who is like, can put together a Survey Monkey sort of thing, like in a slapdash because you know how to do it, that would volunteer to do that? You can, Julia? So, no, any kind of survey. I'm just saying that because it's the ones that I've been familiar with. Whatever you want to do, that you could put together that kind of a survey format, and you could send it to the board, and if they agree that it sounds like it's pretty good,
Not
they
the board, it would be this body. It would have to come, anybody producing a survey would have to come back before this entire body. Again, this board makes no decisions without the body's input.
Okay, but if the body decides today that we want a survey,
Yeah, but they have to see the survey before they would approve, yes, let's send this out. So,
Perhaps we could discuss what should be on the survey. Obviously, I suggest, but I think we should have a discussion over that.
And I think it shouldn't be only internet, because we have a lot of people in this community
Okay.
that are not
I'm
computer.
gonna go to point of order
Okay.
now, because this is 3-minute public comment, not a Q&A back and forth. And we do need to close up. We've used up our time and allotted time in this room.
Marlene Elder. First of all, you skipped through the topics for upcoming meetings, and I think one of them should be that on there about the defining the small town thing. Should be maybe something that's on the agenda for when people do show up and we can talk about it. But my public input is movies in the park are coming back this year. The first one's going to be June 8th. It's going to be Goonies. The second one's July 13th. It's going to be Elemental. The third one is July 27th. It'll be Dirty Dancing. And August 10th will be Kung Fu Panda. So, go to the movies. Enjoy yourself.
the gentleman in the front? Well, we need to,
Yeah, I'd like to address something, I don't need that. Accountability department, whoever contracted and approved the contracting of paving West Road, they paved, about 5/10 of a mile one direction, 3/10 of a mile the other direction, and then they left a 100-foot section of the road undone. All right, so there's gotta be somebody up there in the board of supervisors that approved this. The planning department approved it, and nobody comes out and checks the work after the subcontractor. Public work.
and where is that? On West?
West Road,
Okay.
all right? So I'm thinking maybe we gotta have somebody from, the accounting, responsibility department come out here, maybe, and answer questions like this. How come you screwed up the road here? How come the road's not done?
Well, you know, when Caltrans is here, that's something I can add to the agenda and see if Public Works, if Public Works can come as well.
Who approves this work? I mean, Lake County's gotta approve it,
Mhm.
right? And nobody comes out there and takes a look at the work that's done. You know,
Mhm.
if I did that when I was on the job, I wouldn't be working that long.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Carlos?
I just have one more thing to add. This Sunday, we're gonna be playing with the Lake County Symphony in Lakeport at 2 o'clock, and there's a dress rehearsal at 11 at the Soper Reese Theater, and we're also going to be playing for the high school on the 21st, Tuesday the 21st at 7 p.m. at the gymnasium. We're going to do a jazz concert and as a in the multi-use room. I'm sorry, not in the gym. At any rate, I just wanted to put that out there.
Great, thank you. Nanette?
I have two things. First, Farmers Market this Friday night, tomorrow night, from 5 to 8, excuse me. Was very successful. The last couple of times have been a lot of people. And then secondly, a question was asked of me, and I'm going to direct it to Lisa. What's going on with the Rabbit Hill, and was the vote tabulated? And
We have a tie.
oh,
Okay, wait, this isn't Q&A? I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay, if you could speak to that.
Announcement, May 18th is the chili
Right.
cook-off to raise funds for the senior center, their Meals on Wheels. We'll have, I think, about 8 cookers and then the salsa people. We'll have I think, a 7-piece band, and it'll go from about noon until we finish up. The cookers will be here at 6 o'clock in the morning because they start cooking early. But it's a fun thing, and it's a good project for the community. A lot of vendors will be here, and all the money goes directly to the senior center. So if you have time, come down and support it. It's a worthwhile project. May 18th. Thank you.
That is a good event. Julia?
As Middletown Day approaches, we really should be reconsidering whether this town wants to continue to support and promote animal cruelty in the form of rodeo sports in which animals are willing participants who are often harmed and are terrorized in the process. It is my firm belief that animal cruelty should never be performed for entertainment or sporting purposes or considered family fun. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the ASPCA, is opposed to all rodeo events that involve cruel, painful, stressful, and potentially harmful treatment of animals, not only in performance, but also in handling, transport, and prodding to perform. The ASPCA recognizes the cruel treatment inflicted on many additional animals in the process of practicing to compete in rodeo events. Further, the ASPCA is opposed to children's rodeo events such as goat tying, calf riding, and sheep riding, aka mutton busting, which do not promote humane care and respect for animals. Also, the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, is also firmly opposed to rodeo sports for similar reasons. Again, I think I would like to ask that this board propose a resolution that we no longer support rodeo sports in Middletown.
That's, thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Okay.
Hi, I'm Helen Owen. I'm running for District 1 Supervisor. And just so you know, we do have a rodeo coming up for the kids, Memorial Day weekend, and we do support it. We have, it'll be at the park. We'll have a dance that night, and we'll have the rest of the rodeo at my arena on Saturday and Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn from those of you who are left in the room.
I'll second.
Thank you so much. Any opposed? No? Okay, great. Let's all go home. Thank you so much for coming tonight.